know if I got it anymore.
What?
I don't know if I got any more.
What are you saying?
I said I don't know if I have any more. But I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I gotta go do what I gotta do. Not the champ. Really?
Dude, it's a digital age.
Two wholesome bearded boys talking about movies on the internet are back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second annual Justin and Tyler Mid-Year Movie Awards. This time, of course, for the year of 2023. And we are here to bring you all of those wonderful miscellaneous type awards that you're never ever going to find anywhere else. And if you do, they're copping our style. And you need to tell us about that because I'm very litigious. So, the Mid-Year Movie Awards for 2023, all the miscellaneous awards that we have given once in years past. We always love the idea of revisiting stuff like that, and that's what the mid-years is all about. We get to revisit these fun awards that we've only ever given once, aside from what we gave last year, and we put that all in the context of what we've seen in 2023. We're back on camera, we're talking about movies. It's an exciting time. I can't wait.
Same. That's all I got. I've been thinking about this, all year, but especially this last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I've been singing these songs and stuff.
Now, we do want you to tell us in the comments down below to this video, we do want you to tell us if that was the best opening sequence that we have ever put to film, because I think we're feeling really excited about how that's going to look. And just due to the fact that there have already been a couple of boxing movies that came out this year, it just felt like a nice little tip of the hat to what we've seen so far on cinema in 2023. And it is time now to dig deep into those miscellaneous movie awards. Let's get to them. So, for this year, where it is in fact the 10th anniversary of us doing movie awards together, the year of 2023, at the end of the year, it's going to be our 10th Lineal Movie Awards, which is very, very exciting. In celebration of that, the Mid-Year Movie Awards this year will be not 2, but 3 videos. So, this first video is where we're going to do all of our miscellaneous awards. We've got a dozen of them that we're going to give in this video. We'll go over them here with you in just a moment. That's what's going to be within this video. We're going to have its own video where we do our Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, as well as a dark horse in each one of those categories. The worst movie that we've seen so far this year, as well as our best movies that we've seen this year. That video will then also end with the 5 movies that we are most anticipating for the rest of 2023, because obviously we still got more than half the year to go. So there's a lot that's going to come out between now and December 31st. So we're going to have our top 5 in there, most anticipated for the rest of the year. The third video, you can kind of look at it as a bonus video. That's going to include the fans' choice, which is returning, of course, for this year, because we can't do this without you folks who watch, so the fans' choice is making its return. We're also going to be giving you our top 3 moments in movie awards history, because if we weren't self-indulgent already, we're going to be super self-indulgent with that. We each have a list of the top 3 our personal top 3 favorite moments in the history of the movie awards. And then I'm going to hand the floor over to my guy over here who has done a data-driven deep dive. And he does this, he's done this multiple times. A data-driven deep dive of the movie awards that has brought out some really, really interesting things that we've talked about over the years, and Tyler's going to go into a lot more detail about that. That's all going to be contained in its own separate bonus video that will come out probably after the video with our best and worst and the people and most anticipated and all that fun stuff. So you got 3 for the price of 2 this year. So before we dig right in, obviously you're going to notice we got our ice caps here with us, and it wouldn't be a Justin and Tyler Movie Awards mid-year or otherwise without our good friend, the Donuts. This is the Andrew Warren bit at this point, because he just cannot live without us chowing down on some donuts. Yeah, fatter, we should say. We got our donuts here, we got our ice caps, we are ready to roll. So now is the time for us to dig into our collection of miscellaneous movie awards that we have given in awards past. We are up to a dozen of them now that we have pulled from previous incarnations of the awards, and these awards are as follows. You may remember these if you're a longtime viewer.
Andrew Warren.
We have Hollywood's Dumbest Moment of 2023 so far, of course. The Best Cinematic Beatdown. The Worst Industry Argument of 2023 so far, which is sometimes very difficult to differentiate between Dumbest Moment, but I think we found ways to get around it. Nostalgia Made This Bad Movie Good. The Best Debut Character so far of 2023. The Best Genre. The story or premise that deserved a better movie. The person or character that deserved a better movie. The movie trope that needs to die. The best opening scene of 2023 so far, the best soundtrack of 2023 so far, as well as the aha moment for best plot twist of 2023 so far. It's a dozen big awards, and they're all about to come at you right now. So we are going to kick things off with Hollywood's Dumbest Moment of 2023 so far. I will go ahead and give my winner for this first, because this has been one that has been developing for me all year long, and it's basically when anyone, anywhere, ever talks about the Alec Baldwin Rust situation, including me talking about it right now. Anytime anyone has talked about this and given their hashtag hot take on the Alec Baldwin situation, I lose 20 points on my IQ. Like,
was that this year?
Well, see, the court, like the court decision and everything was this year, and the real, like, we're starting to see the real, like, the continuing ramification of it. Obviously, the big ramification was when it originally happened.
Dude, this is gonna be news to me because I have not followed this at all.
So, there's the side, and it's, when I say that this is Hollywood's dumbest moment, it's because it gets into people in the industry talking about this as well.
Yeah.
So you have the layer of it, which is always your Twitter pundits, right? And you have, there's nothing in the middle. No, there's the people on this side that say, well, he did nothing wrong, justice for Alec Baldwin, it was an accident. Then you have the people on the other side that say he should go to jail for the rest of his life, like basically stopping short of saying it was premeditated. Like, I don't think he decided to do this.
That'd be so dumb.
Don't. Exactly, and it ties into like so many layers of things obviously had to go wrong for that to happen. So it's like, but there's no, again, everybody hates nuance. We've established this. There's nothing in between in that conversation. But then you get into the industry pundits, which is just chef's kiss of the stupidity of this situation. Because the industry insiders take the PR angle on things. That are just like, well, he'll probably be blacklisted for the rest of 2023, but 2024, I could see a real resurgence of Alec Baldwin. And I'm like, a guy is dead. Like, I don't know when that got lost in the conversation. That, like, somebody lost their life because of this, but we're looking, you're looking at the PR angle of this about, like, I wonder when Alec Baldwin will be able to be in movies again. Yeah. Like, just every time anybody, and again, I'm not an expert on the Alec Baldwin situation, but anytime anybody has opened their mouth to talk about this, and this year there's been a lot of conversation about it. Anytime anybody has opened their mouth to talk about it, it's just like, this is the most baffling thing that I could possibly imagine happening in the discourse around Hollywood and the movie industry. So for me, that's Hollywood's dumbest moment of the year. An ongoing dumbest moment.
I didn't see this coming at all. I had no idea. And also, it's like you talk about the PR parts, like, just let Alec Baldwin go, and he will eventually come back when he comes back. Like, we really don't need to talk about it.
Right.
Like, it's like you said, there's a dead person. Just Hollywood will do whatever they want to Alec Baldwin. And like most people, I'm sure he will come back because, like, I'm not super up on it, but I assume it is like an accident, right? Like,
it was.
And so it sucks, and I'm not, whatever, it sucks. So he'll probably come back because it was an accident. It wasn't like he walked in being like, I'm a murder this man.
But according to Twitter,
use some logic, right? Even selfish logic. Like, how would Alec Baldwin benefit from murdering somebody on set? He wants to go to jail. Like, he's the Punisher, so he can go in there and kill all the criminals. It's 4D chess. That's all.
That's the long game.
But yeah, okay, that was a good one. I didn't see that coming at all. Okay, so for my Hollywood's dumbest moment, I'm just titling it "Somebody Stop Reese Frake Waterfield."
Okay.
So this technically started last year because of, like, people hearing about, like, the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie. He's the director.
Oh, there you go.
Of that, right? But he had a quote this year that I'm going to, like, say right now, like, word for word, because I got to get it right, okay? So there was a Collider interview where he said this about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, before I say it, he knows, and we all know, he's not going to get the rights for the property. But he says, I've really been excited by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles lately because I think the story has a very kind of horrifying undertone anyway, because it's these half-human, half-turtles who live in the sewer, who have a rat king, who they follow, and then they come out of the sewer with weapons, and then he laughs. It all just starts to link together to me. So I'd love to do that. I'd love to have them, like, down an alleyway, cutting people up, feeding them to the Rat King on pizza or something. I hope I can get the copyrights to that, but I don't know if I can. I'm gonna come back to this, but I gotta say something first about this guy, right? So he made Blood and Honey. We know of this. He's producing a Bambi movie. All right? We have already known that. Like, the argument this year is that quote, which, again, I'm going to get to. But I got to rant about this.
Yes.
So he's producing a Bambi movie, which may or may not come out this year. Maybe it's next year. Here's the thing about this guy. I don't like to gatekeep artists, being like, oh, you should be able to make art, you should not be able to make art, or whatever. It's because I write. I don't want to stop anyone from doing art, except for this guy. But here's the thing. but here's the thing. I will gladly, for the rest of my life, gatekeep bunnies. Because Thumper's gonna show up in this Bambi movie.
Oh, I didn't even put that together. Wow, okay, yeah.
Thumper's the best fictional character of all time because he started my love for bunnies, which led to me and Castle, okay?
There you go.
So that's not this year, though, okay? I just needed to say that because, like, I'm gonna be so mad when Bambi comes out. I know that there's, like, a way that, like, Disneyfies older properties and makes it more kid-friendly. So I think there is, like, there might be, like, an older Bambi story, or maybe it's not Bambi. There's, like, older stories that he's going to tap into. Maybe it's the Peter Pan movie he's involved in. Something. So I know that there is, like, darker stuff going on, right? But here's my thing. Like, this guy is so lazy.
Yeah.
His creativity is so freaking lazy because it's just, like, hey, like, let's take this thing that people love, like Winnie the Pooh, that is so pure that I'm actually, like, almost disgusted that it got made into a horror movie. I gotta be honest.
Right.
Did you really have to do that? Like, he just takes these ideas and he can say all he wants, like, oh, but there's darker source material for something that I'm gonna tap into. But he's like coping, as the kids say, because
Right.
he knows that people are going to be like, oh, I love Winnie the Pooh. And even though it's clear that it's a horror movie, they're going to be like, oh, but I got this sick interest in this because he's taken these properties that are now in the public domain, and I can do that. Like, you know he's tapping into that. He's not stupid, but he's also incredibly lazy. Because here's the thing. You have Damien Leone making Terrifier 2, which is like an original character, super creative, on a low budget, though probably a higher budget than the Winnie the Pooh movie, I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
But still, just an astounding horror movie that's got a lot to it visually. Even the story in Terrifier 2 is great. Yeah, I'm talking about Terrifier 2 again. And then you got this guy. Right? And now he wants to come after Ninja Turtles, which I also love. And here's the thing about Ninja Turtles. We already have Dark Ninja Turtles. Literally this year, last year, when The Last Ronin came out, and now they're doing like a prequel, which I've read like the first issue of it.
Mm-hmm.
We already have Dark Ninja Turtles. We don't need them feeding people to the Rat King in an alley or whatever.
Right.
That's friggin' stupid. Like, this guy is so goddamn lazy.
I love that we both got mad in this award.
Well, I feel personally attacked.
Yeah, but it's true.
Because I know Bambi's coming. So, like, you have this thing, like, we have this joke. I don't know if it's really on screen here, but we have this joke that he was targeting bad UK horror.
Yes.
Right? He doesn't really, because I've seen the numbers, I've crunched the numbers, and I know that there's just, like, kind of 1 year you were just, like, really hard on it.
Right.
But for the joke, like, you're targeting bad UK horror. I'm targeting one specific guy from the UK who makes bad horror. Because I actually hope Bambi gets cancelled.
Right.
I know people are working on it, and I don't want them to not get paid. Like, can you just pay them and then not release the movie? Warner Brothers, can you snatch up this movie?
Exactly.
I'm calling back. Can you just snatch up this movie and never release it? Because, like, I'm gonna have an aneurysm when Bambi comes out. I know. Unless he's watching this, he's like, maybe we shouldn't put Thumper in this, because this guy's gonna die.
Maybe.
But yeah, I can't. I messaged you when I read that quote, and I was like, I have such a good Hollywood's dumbest moment, because I wanted to rant about it for like 3 months.
Yeah.
It's just been festering.
Oh my gosh.
Like, this guy's like my least favorite creator, I think. Like, I'd rather watch a really crappy, unknown indie horror.
We move on now to a happier award. This is the best cinematic beatdown of 2023 so far. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, as this was originally one of your awards, and it was one that I think you had a really good pick for when we did it originally. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you. Best cinematic beatdown of 2023 so far.
So I don't think that mine this year is like super amazing.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to read a little bit here, but it comes from When You Finish Saving the World, a cheater pick.
Okay, yeah.
And it's Ziggy striking out with the girl he wants. So basically, Ziggy is like the main character, and he's like a musician and stuff. But he sits on, it's not Twitch, I don't think, but it's like a streaming service, and he plays his music, and it's very like, if I'm remembering correctly, because I saw this pretty early in the year, it's pretty like teen angsty normal stuff. I don't even think that's necessarily bad. Like, he's amassed a following and stuff. But then this like girl comes along and is like political and cares about stuff, like a teen. I think teen activist or whatever.
Right.
And like, cause Ziggy's mom, Julianne Moore in the movie,
yes,
was also an activist in her younger years and all this other. I think. So anyway, so there's like this conversation going on between this activist girl. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. And her friends or whatever, and then Ziggy strolls in, right? And he like basically commandeers the conversation to be about like, he's like, hey, I played that song that we wrote together, because they like wrote a song together. Mm-hmm. I played that song to my audience, and like they really liked it. And like, it's like, yeah, that's really cool. And he says this, and I paraphrase. He goes, I didn't get political with my songs because I didn't think people would want to hear it, and then my fans loved it, and I realized that I can be political and make money. So she's over here telling this girl that's like very politically aware and cares about society beyond making money, and he's just straight up like telling this girl he wants, like, I exploited you, like your ideas and your lyrics for cash.
Ooh. And
that's why it's a beatdown, because any goodwill he had because he was pretty awkward around her and stuff. Mm-hmm. He built this goodwill, and she seemed to be kind of getting into him and stuff. and then he just straight up inserts himself into a conversation. It's like, yo, I exploited your stuff for money. So that's why it's the best cinematic beatdown for me, because he beat himself down. It was like he was doing so well, and then it was like he Hulk Hogan leg dropped himself. You know?
It was when he turned. She was Macho Man Randy Savage, and he turned on her at Bash at the Beach.
Yeah, it was. So that's all I had. I don't know if that's as good as like the last year, whatever it was, but like that's what I got this year.
I like that though. That's a really good. And again, you make a habit of breaking these awards, and I really like. I love when you do it, because it's always in a really unique way, and that's the same thing there. That's a really unique perspective to take on the beatdown.
I had some other ones that were like just fights, you know, like last week when we first did this or whatever. There was some choices that was like fights, but I was like, I gotta go with something that's like not, you know, a physical beatdown.
Right. Tyler has inspired me with this award.
Yes.
So I'm gonna call an audible right now, because I had an answer for this, and then I saw Guardians Volume 3. And so I was gonna choose everybody versus the High Evolutionary at the end of that movie.
Okay, fair enough.
Because the High Evolutionary just gets the teetotal shit kicked out of him at the end of that movie.
He certainly does.
He does. He absolutely does. So that was gonna be my choice. But you've inspired me. So my selection this year for Best Cinematic Beatdown is Otto versus his own depression in A Man Called Otto.
Yeah!
So
Yes!
Yes! For those of you that don't know, A Man Called Otto is based on a Swedish book, Frederick Backman book, A Man Called Ova. I always pronounced it Ove or Ove. I think technically it's pronounced Ova. So he is a curmudgeonly old man, and in the movie he's played by Tom Hanks.
Which is perfect.
And it is, absolutely. And he's just this curmudgeonly old man who basically hates the world around him, and nobody can do anything right. And what we learn as the movie goes on is he never used to be this way, but he loses his wife, and we understand very early in the movie that he's depressed and suicidal. So he tries to kill himself multiple times in the movie, but as the movie progresses, he's drawn towards that less and less. The whole movie is this microcosm of him fighting his depression and tendencies. So the entire length of that movie is his beatdown against his own depression. So that's going to be my choice this year for Best Cinematic Beatdown, is Otto beating down his depression in A Man Called Otto.
I love the audible.
Yeah,
and that's a really good pick. Now, did you have that like in consideration, or did you just pull that? Like, right?
No, that was what it was going to be for most of the year, like for most of the year up to this point, and then because I saw that was relatively early this year, February maybe.
Yeah.
And then I saw Guardians 3, and I was like, man, can I deny that beatdown, that physical beatdown that's at the end of that movie? But you literally, as we're sitting here, and you call that audible, and you inspired me to call my own, and that's why the movie awards are great.
That movie was a bit of a beatdown on the audience, too. That was sad.
Yeah.
That was a sad movie.
Absolutely. It very much was. And again, Tom Hanks is, a genius, and portrays that so incredibly well.
I never give Tom Hanks enough credit, but like if you stick Hanks in like a certain type of role, especially like that, he's perfect.
We now move on to the worst industry argument so far in 2023. I'm going to take the crack at this one first, and my winner for the worst industry argument so far in 2023 is the argument that it's still controversial to have Johnny Depp in a movie.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm going with the situation that occurred earlier this year at the Cannes Film Festival, which was basically the Cannes Film Festival opened with a movie that has Johnny Depp in it, and immediately it caused an uproar, not so much in France. It caused an uproar in the U.S. because apparently in the U.S. it's still controversial to have a guy who was legally defamed in a movie. We still have, I guess, decided that Johnny Depp's not allowed to have his career back yet, but we're working on it. We're almost there. And there was a particular name of a French actress that I had to look up, which was Adele Hagel, who, now look, Adele Hagel has legitimate gripes, or they seem like they're legitimate gripes, against certain aspects of the French film industry.
Sure.
Like, she quit acting back in 2020. She was apparently essayed by Roman Polanski. And then Polanski won Best Director, I think, in 2020 or something at Cannes. And so she basically quit acting, saying, like, you know what, the French movie industry is like a safe haven for rapists and everything like that. So she quit acting over it. And then 3 years later basically just makes the same arguments again, but this time aimed at Johnny Depp. Now look, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation obviously was very bad.
Yeah.
And it was a situation where there were two not great people who were worse when they were together, and bad shit happened. I don't think anyone's denying that bad shit happened. Is this not why we went through this whole court case and like publicly displayed the court case, like live streamed the court case, and everyone was like, oh my god, Johnny Depp, oh he won, oh how fantastic. We still won't give him his career back.
Yeah.
So the worst industry argument to me is that it's still controversial to have Johnny Depp in a movie. Could make the argument that Johnny Depp is one of our greatest living actors, and somehow it's still controversial in North America. Oh, we can't give Johnny Depp his acting career back yet because he was in a situation where it was two bad people who were bad for each other and did bad things to each other.
I didn't follow the trial that much, so I don't really know what evidence actually was shown, because, like, really, I didn't care that much. I mean, Johnny Depp's lawyer was hot. Like, he became a superstar. And it was fun watching her when I would see clips and stuff, because she just beat everyone down. But, like, yeah, so he got off, like, right? Because they found, like...
They found that Amber Heard did defame him in the was it Variety piece or something?
Yeah, I think it was Variety.
When she talked about things that happened without technically quote unquote naming any names, but was very obviously like talking about him, and so he won. He did win that trial, and she did legally defame him.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, if he gets off and stuff, then we let it go. Isn't this the point? Like, it's not like there was some outrageous trial where everyone knew that the person was guilty. It wasn't like O.J. Simpson. Right? So it's like, just let him have his career back. The law did its thing, and I'm sure there's people who know more about this who might be like, but, and I don't know, I'm not going to argue.
Absolutely.
I don't know the details now, so I wish I had more to say about this. This is an interesting pick, though. Yeah. I didn't see you going this route at all.
No. And like, I don't think anybody denies that the things that happened to Amber Heard happened to Amber Heard. But through this whole process, we also learned about the things that Amber Heard did to him. And that's why I'm like, this just feels like a situation where it was two shitty people who were worse together. And somehow, the person who defamed that one still gets to be in the Aquaman movie at the end of this year.
Yeah.
And he is like in a French film that's opening Cannes, but it's like, oh, like over here, it's like, no. Am I speaking ignorantly about the situation? I'm sure I am. I'm sure there's a lot that I'm not taking into consideration. But as far as I'm concerned, the fact that he can't have his career back in North America just doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, my pick for the worst industry argument of 2023 is the Super Mario Brothers movie is woke, but it's not woke, but it is woke, but it's not woke, guys.
Oh no. Alright.
So did you follow any of this?
No.
Okay, so...
this is way...
So the Cliff Notes version of this is... Okay, if people don't know this about me, which they probably don't, I'm a left-leaning guy, if you looked at my policies, but I do follow a lot of, like, right-wing stuff, and there are some, like, right-wing pundits or whatever you want to call it that I actually do enjoy. But there was a lot of outrage about the Mario Brothers movie before it came out because of Princess Peach. Because, like, in the first trailer or whatever, she was a girl boss.
Okay.
Because, like, she was kicking ass and stuff. So then I would see, like, commentators and stuff on the right, including someone like Steven Crowder, I'm pretty sure. And there's even some that I like, kind of like, that are like, oh, this movie's woke, another girl boss, Hollywood, whatever, right? And then the movie comes out, right? And then you have people like Steven Crowder being like, this movie is making so much money because it's actually not woke. It's like, but you guys were just saying it was woke because there was a girl boss. And like, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. Look, I'll extend an olive branch to whoever needs it here.
Right.
I notice woke. I actually hate that term, but I say it because everyone knows what it is.
Right.
I notice woke stuff in movies. I notice it more in the last 5 years. I really do.
Yep.
I am sympathetic to like the conservative viewpoint to some degree, that there's a lot of wokeness infesting like Hollywood, and there always has been some degree of like social progress and stuff, like, because Hollywood's been left leaning, and that's fine.
Course.
But I do notice it because sometimes it gets in the way of the plot. Sometimes there's weird changes. I'm not going to go too deep into this, and I can look at something and be like, I see their point.
Right.
But then I can also look at it and be like, you guys are losing your minds.
Right.
Like, Princess Peach was always cool. Like, maybe not the first Mario because he just kind of saved her, but in Mario 2, she was, like, arguably the coolest character because she could, like, float and stuff.
Mario, you know what? If Mario 2 would have come out today, there would be backlash towards it.
Exactly.
Just for the fact that she was a playable character.
Right.
Right? Just like, all of a sudden this damsel in distress becomes it's like, oh my god, you guys, really?
Right. And also, Anya Taylor-Joy voices Princess Peach. What's not to love? And I do that for you, but I also think she has an amazing voice.
Oh, she's got a great voice.
She's got a great voice, and she did a great job. So it annoys me there's this industry argument of, like, it was woke, but now, like this Nintendo movie that is just so joyful had this controversy around it. And at least in, like, the circles that I'm kind of, like, privy to, right?
Right.
It's very frustrating. And if it was just this movie, it wouldn't be, but I see it all. It's kind of, like, whittled me down a little bit.
Right.
Right, because I see it a lot, unfortunately, even when I'm not looking. You're so lucky. I'm not gonna be as innocent as you. I'm like a grizzled vet over here, and you're just like, doop-de-doop-de-doop, I've avoided this.
We're going to move on to our next award now, which is Nostalgia Made This Bad Movie Good. Tyler's going to lead us off, but I don't know, we're flying through these awards, but it feels like there's something missing on them. We finished our ice caps, so they're off screen now, but now the table just feels bare.
Yeah.
Feels like there's something missing. What might we be able to do about that? Strawberry iced tea.
Which I've had before because I work at a grocery store, so I drank it, but like he's never had it.
I've never had
this. This is on air.
So first of all, live can openings. By the way, you ain't gonna get this shit on the Oscars. Live can opening. We're gonna cheers it, and this is my first taste. That's dangerous.
Yeah, addiction.
Really
good. It'd be even better if it was cold, but I've never actually had it cold because I just get off the shelf and drink it.
That's really good. So, Nostalgia Made This Bad Movie Good. Tyler's gonna kick us off.
All right, mine is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always special, like 30th anniversary or whatever. We decided this counted as a movie. To be honest, this is the only pick I had.
Okay.
But I like it because here's the thing. When this guy came up with this award, however, in 2017, I think it was.
I think so.
It's been around a long time. He chose Power Rangers.
He did.
10th anniversary, on the road to the 10th anniversary, I'm choosing Power Rangers.
Nice. I like that.
And honestly, the movie is garbage. You know it is. Like, you watch it, it's so overly cheesy. It's like they're trying too hard. The acting's bad. Everything's bad about this movie. But it's like, but I gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
Right.
And that's pretty much the definition of this. It's like, it's only because it's Power Rangers. And when they say, like, there's a part near the end because they're, like, honoring the two that died. Like,
Jason David Frank and
I can't.
Darn it.
But anyway, they're basically like, you know, once a Power Ranger, always a Power Ranger, once and always or whatever.
Yep.
And I got teared up. I'm gonna be honest. So that's why. And this isn't a long one. It's just, it's nostalgic because we both grew up watching Power Rangers. I have no connection to it now, but I saw the anniversary. I was like, I'm watching it.
Cool. I like that.
But it wasn't good.
My selection in 2023 for Nostalgia Made This Bad Movie Good is The Machine.
Oh, damn.
So, here's the thing. We talked about this earlier today, that The Machine and About My Father with Sebastian Maniscalco released on the same day. Like, they both released on May 26th. And ostensibly, they're very similar movies. So I wound up liking The Machine more. And it's not because The Machine is whatever, I think it was 15 points difference in my ratings. Okay? It's not that The Machine is actually 15 points better as a movie than About My Father is. It's the fact that I am nostalgic for that stand-up routine. Right. So when I first discovered The Machine stand-up routine, when it first went viral, I think.
Yeah.
It like that routine takes me back to a particular point in time, right? And it's just, I'm nostalgic for when I first discovered that routine and was like, oh my God, I love this. I love the way he tells this story. Mm-hmm. I love the fleeting concept that maybe this might actually have been real. And like, as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, this movie's not great. But in direct comparison to an exceptionally similar movie that also just released, I do like this one better. Plus the nostalgia for when I first discovered that stand-up routine. That's why this was gonna be the choice for this. I almost gave this to Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Only because I think it really hit its like 80s motif. Okay. And so I was like, oh cool, this is like nostalgia for these kinds of like kind of 80s movies and the setting that it's in and whatever. Not to the level of like Everybody Wants Some with Richard Linklater, but it still felt very much like an 80s movie. Right. So it was gonna be that, and then I watched The Machine and I'm like, no, you know what? That's the angle I'm going to take on this. So, because I'm nostalgic for that stand-up routine, The Machine is going to be my choice for Nostalgia Made This Bad Movie Good. Not that it's a bad movie, but right. It's not
Power Rangers.
Right, yeah, it's not Power Rangers, but it's, you know what? It's just like, I like this mostly in comparison to its easiest competitor, which is the very similar movie that literally released on the same day.
It's funny because sometimes we have like a bit of contention in this award specifically. Because when I think back to like your Power Rangers thing, then we'll get to your stuff.
Yeah,
it's like you were like made this bad movie good, and I thought the 2017 Power Rangers was actually pretty good. Like just by itself, like the teen drama part of it, not so much the actual Power Rangers aspect, but the teen drama. So like we had a bit of contention there because I didn't think it was actually a bad movie, not amazing. And this like I haven't seen this. But where the contention lies, and you've already know this, I kind of told you earlier, but I'll say it for the camera, is like I'm not nostalgic for this routine at all anymore. And I liked it as much as the next person. And I've seen the video a few times. I like Bert as a comedian. Like I watch his stuff.
Yep.
But I don't know. It seems like the guy's just hanging too much on that. I feel like it had its time.
Yes.
So I'm not at all nostalgic for it. Now, I will watch the movie, especially since I know you've seen it. I will definitely watch it. It'll be something, later on this year. I'll be like, oh, cool, I'll put that on. And maybe I'll really like it. Maybe I'll find it funny.
Yeah. Up next, we have the best debut character of 2023. And for me, I'm going to grab a character that I think is actually going to show up in subsequent movies. Maybe to the absolute surprise of what seemed to be logic at the time. Because if anything felt like a one and done movie, it would have been this one. But my choice for best debut character is the character Zank. And Zank is played by Regé-Jean Page in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
Which one's he?
He's basically the true good character, like the vanguard character basically, who shows up in the party.
Okay.
Right, and he's like he's the absolute definition of true good, and it's very obvious that he's the definition of true good in a D&D context. When he shows up, it's like there's the true good character, and he might have been the highlight of the ensemble there. I thought that Michelle Rodriguez was really good as Holga. Holga? Yeah, Holga.
Yeah.
Holga Kilgore. I thought she was really good in that movie, but he's the standout to me, and I'm most interested because I'm sure we're going to get at least one more of these because this was it was surprisingly good.
Yeah. It was.
I'm the most interested to see where his arc goes because when you see the true good character, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for the downfall of the true good character. So I want to see that through, and I want to see if that's the direction the story takes. So I'm the most interested in him moving forward. I thought he was one of the highlights of the movie. That's why he's my best debut character.
That's a good pick. I really don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it coming. That's a good one. So Justin said I could give a couple honorable mentions for mine because I said that this was super competitive for me this year. So I just want to quickly run down 3.
Okay.
The depressed Luma in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh.
Was so funny, especially in a kids movie. On the opposite, the house in the movie Skinamarink, because the movie spent so much time establishing the house that it's hard not to view it as a character.
Right.
And then there was Tubby and Bluey from Unicorn Wars. They were 2 brothers, and one of them's the one that goes crazy, and the other is you feel so hard for it. And I thought Unicorn Wars was a really cool I think cheater pick that.
Nice.
I would recommend to you. But the winner could be no one else. Well, actually, I'm breaking the awards.
Okay.
Could be no one else but Floor, Lila, and Tish from Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Totally fair.
I would have given it just to Floor because it's a rabbit, but he wasn't in it that much.
Right.
But what can you say? I'm going to talk mostly about Floor just because it is the rabbit, but his name is Floor because he's on the floor when they're giving themselves names.
Right.
These characters, and Rocket, but he's not a debut character, obviously, so I can't include him, but Rocket would obviously be in there too. But they are the heart.
Yeah.
And not only are they the heart of that movie, they are the heart of all movies this year. They are the heart of the movie industry this year. We'll talk more about Guardians, I am sure, so I will get more into this. But especially since I got Castle, I've been I've had a really hard time with animal cruelty and stuff.
Yeah.
And these characters where I felt so bad for them, and this is a downer pick.
Right.
But it had to be.
That whole scene, that whole segment of that movie where they're giving themselves names.
Yeah.
I almost wish it wouldn't have been in the trailer, a part of even any part of it in the trailer, because that whole scene is it's the second time I've done that today, but it's just that whole scene is some of the most immaculate just filmmaking in the entire MCU.
Yeah,
because that scene is so emotionally evocative, and then you have that moment of my name is Floor because I'm lying on floor.
As soon as I saw the rabbit, I was like, oh no. I was like, something bad's gonna happen to this rabbit. And I'm gonna despise whoever does it.
Right.
So that was a downer pick, I know, because if you've seen Guardians, it's I'm not gonna spoil.
But
we will kind of spoil stuff probably later. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but
it's a great pick though. It's such a good pick. Cruising right along here on the Miscellaneous Awards. The next one we go into is the best genre so far in 2023, and Tyler has the floor.
Yeah, this will be fairly quick, but mine is drama.
So's mine.
Consensus. There you go.
Exactly. So what
My logic is of the genres that I've seen more than 5 movies in, so, comedy, action, science fiction, and there's maybe another one I can't remember. Drama may not have the highest of the highs for me. There's been some really awesome drama movies. I'm not saying there's not, but there's other action and superhero or whatever sci-fi. They might have a movie that's a higher highs, but drama also doesn't have the lower lows. There are no movies that I rated lower than a 4.5 out of 10, which is on my scale like a close but no. Like there's good things to like about it, but I still wouldn't recommend it. But whereas the other genres, there's like, you know, like, I don't know, 1.5 out of 10.
Right.
So they fell more. Whereas drama, like the average is like a pretty consistent level of quality comparatively. So that's why I went with drama.
High ceiling, high floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
that's what I went.
Nice. The reason that I went like, and then again, every movie is technically a drama. there's drama in every movie, but when we use the term drama here as a genre, we're looking at like a movie that's either primarily a drama, or like is like a dramedy or an action drama, or it's like something where it's like either the primary or secondary is like a drama. And I think of any movie this year that I rated 70 out of 100 or better, at least half of them are dramas. Sure. So within this 1 year in a vacuum, and the dramas are also like, so again, sort of the same deal. High ceiling, high floor. The movies that are towards the top, you see a bunch of dramas, but you don't see dramas towards the bottom of the list. Right. You basically, for me this year anyway, I don't know that I've seen one that was worse than, say, a 5 out of 10. Right. So basically, we've kind of got the same justification for it, but yeah, it's at least half of the best movies I've seen this year are either primarily dramas or have the drama elements in them from a genre perspective. So that's why we're both going with drama. I keep saying genre.
We're both going with genre. One of my things about drama is I fancy myself more of a fan of like speculative fiction, you know, like sci-fi. And like I like action movies and stuff like that. I'll watch like a crappy action movie, but if I see like, I gotta be more invested in the premise for a drama to watch it. So I'm probably not picking just any old drama that just shows up. Right. So I'm gonna be a little pickier. Because like drama gets represented really well in our movie awards, if I'm remembering correctly from like the analysis I did, like especially for me, I think for like actors and stuff. Like we both mind drama a lot, so it's not really a surprise that like drama is the best genre so far. So
no shock. We move on now to the story or premise that deserved better in 2023, and I'm going to kick this one off with, honestly, probably the movie right from the beginning of the year that I was pretty confident was going to get this award. My winner for this is Mithrigan.
I didn't know that.
No, didn't know that? All right.
I thought you were going to say Cocaine Bear.
Oh, no.
All right, no, that's cool.
Yeah, so Megan, basically the story about the little AI girl that could. And the reason that I thought this deserved better was I think the movie at least kind of touches on some really interesting questions, not only about artificial intelligence, but about coming of age, questions about parenthood, questions about attachment theory. Like the movie's ostensibly about attachment theory.
Yeah.
But it brings up the questions, but then fails to explore any of them. And that's why I think like this movie could have been so much more had it taken some time to actually explore those questions. Like that's not what the movie's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be a horror movie about AI. So I get it. But if you'd taken like just a little more time you have these interesting questions, they're right there. Like just like a movie like Ex Machina kind of explores some of this stuff, even though ostensibly it's not like it's more about that, but not specifically about that. But just take a little bit of time to explore some of these worthwhile questions, but it just didn't. So that's a failure in my eyes. So I think this concept, especially when you broach those questions in the way you tell the story, I think it's important to actually explore those questions rather than to ask them and then just not. So
yeah, this movie's going to be one of those like best horror movies of the year when the list come out at the end of the 100%. I don't agree at all. I actually don't even think it was scary. Like, you talked more about, like, the philosophical musings and psychological musings of the movie. I just don't think it's, like, a great movie.
Right.
Just, like, narratively, it's not... It's, like, a horror comedy, but it's not really funny. It's not scary.
Right.
And it sucks because I remember turning it on and seeing the beginning and thinking, like, this is a cool beginning.
Yeah.
Like, maybe this movie will be as good as, like, the box office is telling you it is, because so many people are going to see it.
Right.
Which, good for them. The success is nice. And I don't hate this movie at all. It's just not going to make it on, like, any of my lists at the end of the year, I don't think. So for mine, I was going to give it to Support Group Olympus, that movie I
Yes,
messaged you about.
mentioned that to
about,
me,
like,
yes.
the Greek gods in therapy because they lost their powers or whatever, which is just like an indie movie. It's like a super cool premise. But just now I decided I'm going to go with robots.
Okay.
So have you heard of this?
I don't think so.
It's a rom-com. This is why I kind of want to go to it, because I want to say that a rom-com deserves better. I want to be a real man. Okay, so here's the basic premise. You have two characters. One's played by Shailene Woodley.
Oh, nice.
Part of the reason why I watch it, because I like Shailene Woodley. I don't see her much anymore, and I like her. So, and there's this other guy I can't remember his name. But basically, it's set in this world where there's like robots, and it's kind of I think it's illegal for people to own them though. But so this guy and this girl each have a robot of themselves.
Okay.
The guy uses a robot to go out and charm women. And then when it gets to, like, the sex, he, like, tags himself in. And he has sex, because that's all he wants from girls, right?
Okay.
Now, the girl, Shailene Woodley's character, has a robot of herself, who she'll charm the guys to buy her stuff. And then when it gets to the sex, she tags in the robot, because she doesn't want to do it.
Right.
And, like, there's people, I'm sure, in the world that would be like, oh, there's just stereotyping men and women. Like, men only want sex and women are just gold diggers. But those both exist. And so I thought that was, like, a cool premise, honestly.
Yeah.
Because for a rom-com, I thought that was neat. And then, of course, they're both, like, terrible people, I guess. And you know what I mean? And then they get together, and then it's a rom-com, so you know what happens.
Right.
But, I don't know, I just kind of expected better. Because, like, that was one of the rom-coms. Like, I don't often look at rom-coms and go, like, ooh, what a really cool premise. Because you know what to expect from a rom-com. Like, there's some good premises. This is one of the better rom-com premises I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I thought. Science fiction a little bit, you know? Like, very soft science fiction, obviously. But, I don't know. So that's why I picked robots.
Do the robot avatars get together?
Yeah. Yeah, they fall in love and run away.
Excellent.
And it's like this whole thing. But yeah. Again, it was okay, but it didn't live up to the its hype that I gave it.
Right. Up next, a slightly different spin, very similar award, but this is the person or character who we feel deserved better in 2023, and Tyler's going to be the one to kick us off here.
I'm going to go with Philip Marlowe in Marlowe, starring Liam Neeson.
Ooh, okay, yeah, sure.
Just because, like, one, I like Liam Neeson in certain roles. Like, I don't think him doing, like, intense amounts of action is any good anymore.
At this point, yeah.
But he doesn't do that in this. Like, he does a couple little fight scenes that are awkward at best. But it's just, like, it's like a film noir type thing. He's just this, like, detective on a case. And I don't know, like, the idea of Neeson and, like, film noir, or, you know, like... That just does it for me, honestly. Like I like that kind of like I'm really into that type of character. I don't know if it's gonna make the cut, but we joked earlier about me being like a grizzled vet and being like the detective in a film noir who's like smoking and he's just had enough of this.
Right.
That's kind of like what this is. I actually really like that type of character. Like I'm a big fan. So and I like Liam Neeson, and I like Liam Neeson in these types of roles. So like I don't hate that movie as much as a lot of other people because people really didn't like it. I thought it was, like, okay, I think. But I don't know. I like Marlowe as a character. So, that's my pick.
My choice this year for person or character who deserved better in 2023 is Father Gabriel Amorth from The Pope's Exorcist. And my justification for this is he was the exorcist for the Pope. Like, just the concept of a movie about the person who, for decades, served as the literal exorcist for the Pope feels like, okay, this should be a tremendously interesting movie. Like, this person could have claim to being a legitimate real life badass, like the Exorcist. I hate to repeat myself. The Exorcist for the Pope. Instead, we get bloated Russell Crowe doing a bad accent, and man, did that character ever deserve more than what they were given, or not that character, that real life person deserved way better. And there's been other movies, like there's been like sort of vaguely documentary type movies done about Father Gabriel Amorth, but then you have this fictional movie where you could basically do whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
The decision was made that it was going to be Russell Crowe with a bad accent. So I just don't get it. I don't understand why you wouldn't try to do something cooler with someone who, might I remind you, was the exorcist for the Pope. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't have tried to do more with that. So that's my choice. Just like, oh man, did this person ever deserve a better fictionalized version of themselves than what we got in that movie.
And you know what sucks about that movie? Like, that movie actually starts off pretty cool. Like, when they, like, exorcise the demon into the pig and they kill it.
Yeah.
Like, I was uncomfortable. I hated seeing the pig die. But, like, it's still a cool scene.
It's a cool opening.
It is. It really is. Like, I turned it on not really wanting to see it, but knowing that you saw it. And I'm like, this might actually be really good.
That's Russell Crowe has this way about being in movies that have really cool openings, and then the rest of the movie doesn't live up to that opening. Yeah, because he's had done it at least twice now in recent memory. Just 4 miscellaneous awards left to give in this video. Sad, I know. And then we are moving on to the movie trope that needs to die in 2023. And where with the previous award, I just talked about the Pope's Exorcist. Now I'm going to move on to talk about the Pope's Exorcist. So the movie trope that needs to die in 2023 is the last-ditch effort to spawn a sequel or franchise. It just, it needs to be gone. And you can very much tell when it's happened. You can tell when they're going along on the volition of the project, filming something, and at some point, somebody with a spreadsheet in front of them goes, you know, this is going to be successful enough that we can probably milk this cow for another movie. You can just tell. Yeah. It happened with Mithrigan. It happened with the Pope's Exorcist, and you can tell because the last scenes of the movie lazily telegraph the fact that there's gonna be a second one. Especially in the Pope's Exorcist, it's really egregious because the story resolves itself, or comes to its resolution, and then you have this like additional scene like it was dropped out of a helicopter of them like going down into this spot, and all of a sudden it's like the Avengers like the Avengers lair but for exorcists, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be a Da Vinci Code franchise. Like, that's what this is gonna be, whether the movie was any good or not. They're definitely gonna be making at least one more of these. Mithrigan does the same thing, lazily telegraphs its inevitable sequel, which it is getting, by the way. It's already been greenlit. So you can tell when it's just shoehorned in there at the end, like, oh, franchise, and like it needs to stop, because most of these movies are not good enough on their own to then support subsequent movies. Yeah. Sometimes the second movie can be better.
Oh, of course it can.
Occasionally, you might have a Wrath of Khan situation where, like, the second movie is loads better than the first one. Occasionally, that'll happen. More often than not, it's not the case. And so this is a practice in Hollywood, a trope in Hollywood that we need to be done with, needs to die in 2023.
Yeah, just make a good movie without telegraphing a sequel, and if it does really well and people really like it, make a sequel.
Right.
It's not that deep, fan.
It's okay to leave some stuff in there that you could then mine for a sequel. Yeah. But when you're very obviously like, there's going to be another one, that's what needs to die. That's what needs to go away.
All right, so we're just going to jump right into mine. So mine is somebody doing something really suspicious and then never getting followed up on. So we're going back to I can't even say it. Mithrigan there.
Mithrigan, there you go.
Because there's a scene where there's a guy behind a desk at work, copying secret files over on his computer or whatever.
Yes.
And then the boss rolls up, and he's like, or whatever. I don't know if it was a laptop or not. I think it was a laptop. Yeah. And it's just like, what you doing? Oh, nothing. You know, that kind of thing, right?
Yes.
And then they never, dude, he did something suspicious. Now this can be played for comedic effect or whatever in a comedy, I guess. Mm-hmm. I can't list one off the top of my head that does it. And I don't actually hate the trope. I don't really hate tropes. I just kind of, we for the sake of the award we just do it. But it is. I always notice it though, because it's maybe not in regular life. In regular life, sometimes you might not follow up on someone acting weird because you don't want to invade their personal space. You might be like, well, something's kind of weird. But then you probably go to someone else big. Justin's acting really weird. But what makes this one especially bad is they're at work. The boss has every right to be like, yo, what you doing on the company computer, big guy?
Right. Exactly.
So I see that and I'm just like, it's lazy. It's lazy storytelling because that boss should follow up on this. Oh, I'm sorry. The guy could have been watching porn.
Anything.
Or anything. Oh no. And it's so obvious, right? It's like, hey, Justin. What?
Whatever.
I wasn't doing anything, but then he wouldn't have a movie. It's just better ways to tell the story.
Absolutely.
I always hate this trope. So we're mining Megan.
We are
a bunch of these. Are we Megan's #1 haters or something?
We'll have to find it. Look, in the next video, we give our award for worst movie of the year. So we're about to find out whether that's the case or it's not.
True.
We move on now to the best opening scene so far in 2023. Tyler has the floor.
All right, we're going to Scream 6 for mine.
Ooh, yes.
And I'm just gonna read kind of what I wrote. It might be awkwardly written. I don't know. I don't remember. So I'm just gonna read it so you get a kind of idea of what it is. So a woman is waiting for a date. She's lost, and then someone calls her, and she gets talked into going to an alley. Then Ghostface appears, criticizes her for teaching a class on slasher flicks, and while still going into an alley, he kills her. He takes off his mask. You think, oh crap, we know who the killer is. So then the killer goes home, gets a call, thinks it's his roommate. It's not. He gets killed. When Ghostface stabbed him the first time, he says, do you feel like an animal? In reference to the guy telling him on the phone when he thought he was his roommate that killing his professor felt good because as the knife went in, it was like she was an animal. Then he says as he's dying, we have to finish the movie. And Ghostface says something like, who gives a fuck about the movie? And slashes him. And it's a great beginning that already has twists. And Ghostface kills with actual malice here. And it's very meta. And it's really tense.
Yeah.
And it really set the scene. I've realized over the last couple of years that I'm a big fan of these type of slasher flicks, the meta ones or the you don't know who the killer is, it's Ghostface, but you don't know who Ghostface is, and I like those kind of movies. And I've realized I'm a really big fan of not every Scream movie because there's been some crappy ones, but I've noticed I'm a really big fan of Scream.
Yeah.
It's I was totally, as soon as this scene happened, I'm like, I'm in. Yeah, this movie's gonna be awesome. But was it awesome, or was the opening scene just awesome?
What we do know is that the opening scene was really great. Because that was definitely in contention.
I just think if you take that scene, and this is kind of what this is if it was a short film and if you took the scene, it would kind of summarize what Scream is.
Yeah.
Pretty perfectly.
Yeah, I agree. Completely.
So, that's my pick. Scream 6.
And it helps that when a Scream movie is made by people that really know what it is to make a Scream movie.
And also, I think Ghostface, even though I know the person changes, I just think Ghostface is one of the coolest horror villains.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought about that too afterwards. I'm like, Jesus, he's or she, because sometimes it's a girl. Ghostface is top 5 for me, easily.
My winner for the best opening scene so far in 2023 is going to go to our boy M. Night Shyamalan in Knock at the Cabin. So the opening scene in Knock at the Cabin, you have a little girl who is, I think she's Korean, catching grasshoppers. And all of a sudden, Dave Bautista rolls up, dressed like Leonard from The Big Bang Theory, and his name is Leonard, which is a very nice, it's on the nose a little bit, but I like it. So he walks up to this little Korean girl and goes, "Hi, my name is Leonard. Can we be friends?"
Yeah, this is really good.
And she's like, "I don't really talk to strangers." And he's like, "Well, hopefully we won't be strangers for much longer." And then they shake hands, and he sits down, and he's helping her catch grasshoppers, and he's just this massive human being.
Yeah.
Just huge. But he's sitting in the grass with this sweet little girl, and they're catching grasshoppers, and she's talking about how she has two dads. And it's weird that the Disney Channel never shows anybody with two dads, but her guidance counselor really loves that she has two dads. And that's why, like, when I talk about how that movie kind of pokes fun at some culture war stuff, that's what I'm talking about. Is her being like, "I've got two dads. I never see it on the Disney Channel, but my guidance counselor loves it." It's like, okay, that's kind of poking some fun at some culture war stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
That was I was a little scared that it was going to go too far down a certain way, but it didn't. To its credit,
It's true. And they're sitting there, and you can tell that, like, Batista's getting nervous, and she's like, why are you nervous?" And he's like, "I'm not nervous." And then he looks over, and he just sees his other people walking towards them. And that's basically kind of where I sort of cut off the opening, because then it actually goes into the movie. But just that opening scene of this adorable little girl trying to catch grasshoppers, and this giant dude just rolls up and is like, "Can we be friends?"
Yeah.
I love that opening scene so much, and it leads into a pretty darn good movie. So a really good opening scene there. That's going to be my winner.
Yeah, and it doesn't go where you think it's gonna go.
No.
You're kind of expecting him to, like, do the good boy thing for a while, and then be like, yoink, and then, like, take her.
Exactly.
It becomes like a horrific moment, but he's not horrific. Like, he's literally just, like, trying to do something that he thinks is good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I forgot how much I like that opening scene.
Yeah. Only 2 awards left, and we're going into the best soundtrack of 2023 so far. And I would just like to say, I am of the opinion that there is an objective correct answer with this
I
question.
agree, because I get the feeling that we're going to agree.
So, what I think is the objective correct answer is actually not the way I'm going to go with it. Because there was only one movie this year where, in my review, I specifically called out the soundtrack for how good it was. I think the objective correct answer is Guardians Volume 3.
Okay.
My answer for this year is Suzume.
Yeah, we didn't agree.
Right. So Suzume.
Now we were.
Oh, fair enough. So Suzume is a Japanese anime that I just happened to see at shout out to Park Lane Cinemas. I just happened to see it when I was in Halifax one weekend, and it's by the same folks that did Your Name and Weathering with You. And it's not it's a nondescript soundtrack. It's just there's always music in the background, and it is always perfect. It's always pitch perfect at all times for what's happening on screen. And sometimes you feel like songs are ham-fisted into certain things, or like somebody had an idea that they really wanted Running with the Devil in this particular scene, whether it fits with the scene or not. They just really wanted that song and bought the rights to it and blah, blah, blah. The entire soundtrack from start to finish in Suzume is pitch perfect to what's going on screen. So while I think Guardians is objectively probably the right answer, I'm going to go with Suzume.
I can't talk about that, but I don't think Guardians is objectively the best answer. Look, obviously all 3 of those movies have great soundtracks, but I don't know. I think the soundtrack thing gets overblown. I think there's like too much focus put on it that I'm kind of just like, the songs are always
Specifically with Guardians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always enjoy the soundtracks. I know what they're going for, and Gunn is really good at implementing the music and stuff. And I think it's a great soundtrack. So I'll jump into mine. I was gonna pick Scream 6 because by like March something I didn't have a pick, and I was like, oh no. And then I was just like, I wonder what has good music. And I started listening to the Scream soundtrack before I'd even seen the movie.
Oh, okay.
And like the opening theme or whatever, I was like, this is really banger. But it didn't win because Mario won. The Super Mario Brothers movie is the best because I've never felt so much joy listening to the rearranged, like, Nintendo bangers.
It's true.
The original music. I mean, there was like a choice or two of like a real world song that was like not the most amazing thing, but like the original soundtrack itself was like easily my favorite soundtrack of the year because like I know that some of it's just nostalgia. I know this. You hear it and you go, yeah. And it's updated to, you know, rearranged and stuff. And I just think it's wonderful. It's such a joyful time.
Awesome. So we are going to close off this section of the mid-year awards with the final miscellaneous award, the aha moment for plot twist of the year so far in 2023. And Tyler will lead us off.
Mine goes to Knock at the Cabin.
Mine also goes to Knock at the Cabin.
So basically, there is no twist. A few days before I saw this movie, I was talking to a coworker about the show Wednesday and how, like, it would be kind of interesting because you kind of expected one person to be behind it all, and it kind of would have been interesting to see if maybe it was actually that person and there wasn't a twist. And then we got this movie, and that happened. And you know what? The reason I picked it was because I really don't know how I feel about it. Because I kind of don't like it. But then I kind of respect it. Especially given the context of who directed it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? So, the thing was, like, the twist, or the lack of, made me feel a little cold. And I was kind of like, eh. But then at the same time, I'm like, but I respect it. I really respect his willingness to just be like, haha, I got you.
Right. And like I dig that, like, okay, so like I compare this to, say, Old, where, and spoilers, but it's a year or two old, or whenever it came out. It was like, what a twist, it's Big Pharma. And that just felt very shallow to me. Whereas in this, like, the intruders roll up, they tell you what it is, and that's actually what it is. That felt much more satisfying to me than, just a random twist. It's almost like his movie Devil, which I didn't love, but there wasn't, like basically it was the devil, so it's like it felt like it wasn't the random twisty, like the sometimes unfulfilling twists that you can get out of M. Night Shyamalan movies. So I genuinely appreciated that this was one of his the twist is there is no twist. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, our Dirty Dozen miscellaneous awards that we are giving for the Mid-Year Movie Awards in 2023, the Justin and Tyler Mid-Year Movie Awards for 2023. And as we move on to our next video, we get into sort of our people section, Best Acting, Best Actress, Best Directing, our worst movie of 2023 so far, our best movies of 2023 so far, as well as what we are most anticipating for the rest of 2023, and that is all coming in the next video.